All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Mattel Creations Masters of the Universe Origins Grizzlor. And yeah, this is a pretty cool figure. It has kind of an interesting distribution. This is not actually the first Origins Grizzlor that we've gotten. There was another Grizzlor available as part of a 4-pack that was exclusive to PowerCon, I want to say like a year ago. I'm not entirely sure when that set came out, but yeah, no, it was him packaged with a cartoon accurate color scheme for Hordak and 2 Horde troopers, one in black and one in red. And at the time, that was the first time we'd seen the Horde troopers, the Horde trooper mold at all. Was in that black and red color scheme. Obviously, that was the first Grizzlor, and the Hordak. I kind of considered trying to pick up that set at the time, but yeah, Mattel's exclusives are just like a huge markup from the original the original price of like how much all these figures would cost together. And maybe that's how exclusive mostly always were, but I'm a little bit more used to the Transformers side of things, where recently, at least, all the exclusives have been pretty comparable prices to like mainline release figures. They're just a little bit harder to get. So I'm really not going to shell out like twice as much money as I think it's worth for exclusives for Masters of the Universe personally. But either way, that was a previous release of the Grizzlor figure, and then they decided to do a second release of him. I don't know if there's really any differences between this guy and that version, but interestingly, there might also be a third version, because this guy is also an exclusive to Mattel Creations, though I think much more reasonably priced. So there were limited quantities of him available for pre-order. The pre-order opened like last week. I can't remember the exact day, but obviously I was able to get in on that. But when they announced that Grizzlor was going to be a Mattel Creations exclusive, a lot of fans were really kind of outraged at this, because it's like, okay, we're getting another chance to get Grizzlor, but he's an exclusive again. So what they decided to do is, after the pre-orders ran out for this guy, they opened it up the next day for a kind of like unlimited made to order kind of pre-order. So this is this is not the only current run of these figures. Basically, if you didn't get the pre-order for this guy and you did do the made to order section, I think it's going to be relatively the same figure. I don't think there'll be a difference there, but because it's made to order, you won't be getting it for another like year and a half, which makes sense. It's still kind of a bummer that they can't just release them at regular retail, but at least they did kind of have that solution, so that it wasn't just this crazy scalped thing. That, because like once they announced they were doing the made to order, there's a lot less incentive for people to buy up all of this stock and scalp them. Like, sure, there's still going to be some people who are going to buy it for scalper prices just to get it early, but most people knowingly will be able to just like wait a year and a half and get it for the regular price. So that's good. But yeah, all that said and done, obviously, to take a look at the figure itself, I think it works pretty well. I'm not usually a huge fan of soft goods on figures, just because like in terms of stuff like hair and fabric, it doesn't exactly scale with the figures itself, obviously, because they're not making this fur like to scale thinness wise, so it ends up being a lot more like clumpy than actual fur would be. But the Origins line is always very toyetic anyway, and I think that's part of the whole vibe of Grizzlor, is having the real kind of actual hair on here and having him look like a big fluff ball. So I think it works pretty well. But yeah, in terms of accessories, he comes with the kind of typical Horde trooper little crossbow here, where you just push the thing in the middle and it kind of jolts forward a few millimeters. So that's cool. It's got the clip there that you can put over his wrist. He's got the one open hand. I just noticed he only has 4 fingers. That's cool. And the one holding things hand. So obviously you can put that over this hand, and it fits just well. And then he comes with this axe, which is just the same axe accessory that came with the Origins Ram Man a while ago. So you can put that in his hand as well. And I think that looks pretty cool. definitely makes him look like a neat sort of savage warrior there. In terms of articulation, obviously pretty typical Origins stuff here. His head is on that double ball joint section, so it gets a good range of movement. And you know what's nice is like the hair hides the joint too, so you can't really, you know, unlike a lot of the other figures. I mean, you can still see it on his elbows and knees, but you know, a lot of his joints are hidden by the fur, which is nice. But yeah, no, nice face sculpt on there. The shoulders are on that typical setup where they can swivel around and hinge out to the side. It's got a bicep swivel, pretty, you know, decent elbow bend, actually a little bit above 90 or a little bit, you know, past 90, which is nice because usually the big muscles on Origins figures kind of hinder that. The wrist can swivel and then hinge in and out. He's got that waist joint in there. His hips are on, I think they're all on ball joints, the Origins hips are, so they can move forward and back and out to the side. He's got a thigh swivel kind of at the knee, which bends, you know, about 90 degrees. He's got that boot cut and that ankle tilt that you can tilt forward and back, and then that rotation that is also tied to the sideward ankle tilt. So when you rotate it, it also tilts a little bit. Pretty, you know, obviously pretty typical Origin stuff here. But yeah, I think he looks pretty good. I think that the fur definitely makes him look like he's like got a lot of like dynamics to him, where it looks like, oh, he's like in a pose where it's like mid wind blowing in his face or something like that. I think that looks pretty cool. In terms of comparisons, just for a standard action figure comparison, here he is with a deluxe Transformer. Here he is with Origins, He-Man, and Skeletor, just so you can see what he looks like with them. Here he is with Masterverse He-Man and Skeletor. And then here he is with all of the Horde guys that we've got so far. We've got Hordak, Mosquitor, Leech, a couple Horde troopers, and Stick Mantenna in the back there. So yeah, pretty decent Horde build out here. We've got a lot of Horde figures. It's funny, the last like several Masters of the Universe figures I've gotten have all been Horde guys. You know, if you've been watching my reviews, I just reviewed the Horde Trooper and Mantenna and Leech and now Grizzlor. So this will be the last one for a while, I assume. I hope, honestly, because I don't even usually buy this many Masters of the Universe figures all in quick succession like this. This has just been kind of like a quick burst. It had been a long time since I had gotten another Masters of the Universe figure. But yeah, no, I think they all look pretty good together. Definitely makes for a nice sort of Horde setup there. And then the last figure I want to compare him to, just because, you know, the Origins figures, they definitely reuse a lot of parts from each other, which is, you know, pretty true to the original toy line. So it's not a problem or anything like that. But I do want to show him off with Beastman, the figure who you might assume that he shares some parts with, but I don't think he actually does. Like, Beastman uses the regular He-Man like upper legs and shoulder sections, which conspicuously don't have fur, whereas his upper legs and shoulders both do have fur, so that's not the same part. It's not the same forearm piece because you know, Beastman has the cuffs sculpted on there. Not the same hands because he's got 3 fingers instead of 4. The only part that looks like could possibly be the same is this little lower leg bit. And even that, I don't think so, because this one actually looks to have a bit more like clearly defined fur on it. Like his kind of smooths out near the top here. So I don't know. I don't think he actually uses any of the Beastman parts, but I figured I'd show that off because my assumption going in before I actually got him was that he would use some Beastman parts, but I don't think that's actually the case, which is pretty cool. So I think he's all new parts. I mean, obviously, I assume he shares, you know, all the same molding as the original release of Grizzlor from the PowerCon pack. But otherwise, you know, it's new to all the other figures. The armor bits you can take off. I'm not going to bother doing it, but you know, it comes off. The fur, I don't think is removable in any way. It definitely all feels like it's pretty stiffly on there. And then if you did remove it, I think it would be a huge pain to get it back on. So I'm not going to, but yeah, no, pretty much that's pretty much all there is to him. Kind of a fun figure, and I'm glad that they're doing this where they actually listen to people not wanting it to just be another exclusive and actually gave this made-to-order option. Obviously, that's not as ideal as just having it in general retail, but I think it is still nice that they actually listened to people and came up with a solution, even if it's not the perfect one. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to them. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Masters of the Universe Mattel Creations Origins Grizzlor.